Hi guys, hope you're all having a great day. It is Sunday for me, so been a nice Sunday. Hope you guys are having a great day, whatever day it is that you're watching this video. We are starting a new lesson. We're starting lesson 33. We're almost done with the book, just 33 and 34 to go. So 33 is all about classifying two-dimensional figures. Two-dimensional figures just means shapes, and classifying them just means describing them and sorting them into groups. So all we're doing is really describing and sorting shapes. So pretty nice. This is the family letter, so if you want to start with this letter with your family, read it together, talk about what you're going to be learning in this lesson, that would be great. The back side of that page has this kind of like dot grid paper and the instructions here about how to like do this activity, because this is just an activity you're supposed to do with your family. So all the instructions are there. If you want to do that with your family, go for it. But session 1 for this video, and it is on page 717. And if we think back a couple of lessons, it was when you were in Math Success, when we were learning about rays and different types of angles and parallel and perpendicular lines, line segments, all of that. We need to remember all of that vocab now. So that's going to be important in this lesson because that's what we're using, those terms, to describe the shapes, okay? So blue problem says, look at the shapes below. Put a check mark on all the shapes that have at least one pair of parallel sides. Put a star on all the shapes that have at least one pair of perpendicular sides. Explain how you could test your choices. So we need to remember back to our parallel and perpendicular days. Zoom in a little for you. Okay, so parallel sides, perpendicular sides. So we need to remember back to lesson 30. Parallel sides were lines across from each other that are the same distance apart always. They will never meet, they'll never touch, okay? So they're across from each other at the same distance when they start and when they end. But perpendicular lines, let me label that for a second, parallel. And I showed this to my class. I don't know if Miss Sanders or Miss Ball's students realized this, but there's a hint in the word parallel to tell you what it means or to which one it matches with, because the two L's right here in parallel are parallel to each other. They're across from each other and they'll never touch, so that's cool. And then perpendicular, and you can add these down here to your notes. Perpendicular are lines that make a right angle. Okay, so two lines, there's one and another. So those two lines, that pair of lines is perpendicular because it makes a right angle. Okay, so we have to put a check mark on these shapes that have parallel lines. So if we start with A, well, the top is parallel to the bottom, I can tell that, and this side is parallel to that side. So it does have at least one pair of parallel sides. It actually has two pairs, because this is how I label it. That side is parallel to that side, and that side is parallel to that side. So what was it? A check mark. So A gets a check. What about B? Does it have parallel lines? So the top is parallel to the bottom, but this side is parallel to this side across from it. Because if you just turn your book, and we'll do a lot of that in this lesson, we're going to turn our book and look at these shapes a lot. It's just kind of up and down again. And same with 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 3. That side is parallel to that side. So B also gets a check. C is a square. That side's parallel to that side, the top and bottom, and side to side are parallel. So it also gets a check. So far all of them have had parallel sides. What about D? Do you see any parallel lines? You shouldn't, because this one is obviously meeting that one. and that one is meeting this one is meeting that one. So parallel lines will never touch. Like the top of this square is never going to touch the bottom of this square somehow, okay? So D does not get a check mark. E, the top is parallel to the bottom, and this side over here on the left is parallel to the right, because it'll continue on this way, and it looks like they're, you know, slanted, but they're slanted at the same angle, the same distance apart, so they'll never touch. So E also has 2 pairs of parallel sides. Okay, so A, B, C, and E all have parallel sides, so they all get a check. And then we need to put a star on all the shapes that have at least 1 pair of perpendicular sides. So if it has a right angle, it has perpendicular sides. So if we look back at A, these sides are perpendicular to each other. The side and the bottom is perpendicular to each other. This left side and the bottom is perpendicular to each other. And the left side and the top, because here's a right angle, here's a right angle, here's a right angle, here's another one. Okay, so there's a lot of perpendicular sides, so star. Do you see any right angles on B? Hopefully you're saying no, because those are all obtuse angles. Each one is the same angle, okay? So those are all obtuse. There is no right angle there, means there are no perpendicular sides, so no star. C is a square, it has 4 right angles, perfect square corners. So this is perpendicular to the bottom, and then the bottom is perpendicular to the right side side's perpendicular to the top is perpendicular to the left side. How about D? D is a tricky one. So this one is an acute angle, this one is an acute angle, I can tell that. But the top of the triangle is kind of hard to tell. So what you do is you turn your book. I'm turning mine like totally upside down, but hopefully that's kind of up and down for you. Now this is on this is like straight bottom line, and this one is going straight up. So this is a perfect corner. That's a right angle, okay? And you can test that by using a corner of paper, right? If I take this little sheet of lined paper I have here and I put it right into the corner, it should match up. So you can just barely see the orange lines on the side of it. It overlaps that corner perfectly, which means that's a right angle. So D does have a set of perpendicular lines. This side is perpendicular to that side, so we put a star on D. And last one, E. At first glance, maybe it looks like there are some right angles, but there are not. This is an acute angle. This is obtuse because it doesn't go straight up. It's not a perfect square corner. Acute, obtuse. So no right angles means no perpendicular lines, means no stars. Okay, so you should have a check mark for parallel lines on A, B, C, and E, and you should have a star for perpendicular lines on A, C, and D. Done. Okay. Next page, and we're going to answer a bunch of questions about it. Okay, look back. Number 1, which shapes have at least 1 pair of parallel sides and at least 1 pair of perpendicular sides? Explain. So which shapes on the other side, on the other page, had both a check and a star? And, right? Okay, so, I have to keep moving my book around, sorry. Let's see, A had both, and so did C. Okay, so just A and C have both parallel lines and perpendicular lines. B only has a check, only a star, only a check. So just shapes A and C. Okay, so shapes A and C. And how do I explain? They shapes A and C both have sides parallel to other sides and right angles, because right angles is your clue for perpendicular sides. Okay, number 2, look ahead. Shapes with straight sides, such as triangles and quadrilaterals. Quadrilaterals means 4 sides, right? Because quad means 4. Are types of polygons. There are different ways you can sort these shapes, such as by the number of sides the shape has and by the relationships between the sides. You can also sort shapes by the kinds of angles they have. So there's a lot of different ways we can sort these shapes, basically, is what they're saying. And then they have the same shapes that were on the previous page, the problem we were doing. Which shapes have at least one right angle? So we're sorting them by angles here. This question is about right angles, B is about acute, C is obtuse. So right angles, that would be A, C, and D. Okay, all the ones that we said had perpendicular sides on the other page. A, comma, C, comma, D. Okay, and then which ones have at least one acute angle? So remember, D had acute angles here and here, and E had acute here and here. So just D and E. And obtuse angles. Right angles, right angles. This one's a right angle. But these are all obtuse. Those are all wider than a right angle, so they're obtuse. And these 2 angles over here on E are both obtuse. Okay, so just B and E. There we go. Okay, number 3, reflect. Describe the sides, I almost said sides. Describe the sides and angles of shape C. So all you have to do down here is describe this square, okay? But you can't just say it's a square. Okay, we have to describe it by the type of sides it has. So we could say something about its parallel and perpendicular sides. Shape C has 2 pairs of parallel sides, right? Because top and bottom are parallel, and then side and side are parallel. So there's 1 pair, 2nd pair. And sides that are perpendicular. Okay, so I've described the sides. Now I need to describe the angles. So if we look at C, what type of angles does it have? Well, it's only in this one. Doesn't have any acute, doesn't have any obtuse, it has all right angles. Shape C has 4 right angles. Oops. Okay, so however many corners a shape has is how many angles it has, right? So you can't say it has 4 right angles and 2 acute angles. There's only 4 options. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, that's it for that page. Next page is the green page, the practice page, because remember today is session 1, so it's a shorter lesson. The shape in the bubble map is polygon. Okay, so it described polygon right here on the previous page. Polygon, it says shapes with straight sides, such as triangles and quadrilaterals, are types of polygons. So, shapes with straight sides, that's what a polygon is. So, let's put that in one of these boxes. Shapes with straight sides. That's what a polygon is. Does anybody remember, it's like one of the original Pokemon. Is his name just Polygon? The like pink and blue one that's all like angular and he can change shape. Was his name just Polygon? Someone let me know. I don't remember. Okay, so in the other ones, let's draw some polygons. So any shapes with straight sides, and it said such as triangles and quadrilaterals over here. So and try and make your sides as straight as possible. No curved lines in those shapes, right? You could do a square. You could do a rectangle. Any shapes you want. How about a pentagon? Those are a little tougher to draw. Oh, that was actually not so bad. Okay, in this one, I'm gonna do a non-example. So I'm gonna say not a polygon. And what shape do we know that's not a polygon? What's a shape that does not have straight sides? How about a circle? Or an oval? Neither of those are considered polygons because they don't have straight sides. Okay, so my bubble map is complete. I'm working on number 2. Which shapes are polygons? So all of these that are polygons. Ooh, there's a tricky one. Okay, so A, definitely a polygon, straight sides. B, definitely not, it's a circle. Those aren't straight sides. C, definitely, straight sides in a shape, great. D, yep, that's a nice triangle. What about E though? That's the tricky one. What's wrong with E? E is not a closed shape. See, it has this corner that's not complete, this blank corner. They didn't just print that wrong. They did that on purpose to trick you. It's not finished. That's technically not a polygon because it's not completed. It has to connect, right? So it's just A, C, and D. Cross out that one too. Okay, back page, and then we're done. Okay, same shapes again. What are they doing? Don't they want to show us more shapes? Okay, look at the shapes below. Put a check mark on all the... Oh, it's not the same shapes. It's just the same colors and letters. Duh. Okay, put a check mark on all the shapes that have at least one right angle. Okay, check mark for right angles. Check mark. Okay, put a star on all the shapes that have at least one pair of parallel sides. Parallel sides gets a star, it said. Okay. Then explain how you could test your choices. So let's look at each one for right angles first. Does A have a right angle? Yes, it does. It's right there. Check. B. That's acute. Acute. This is obtuse and obtuse. No right angles, no check. That's a square, so it has 4 right angles, definitely. D. Acute. Opposite has acute. Obtuse, obtuse. No right angles, no checks. These are all obtuse angles right here. For this shape E, this hexagon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 makes it a hexagon. So no check. So it's just A and C that have right angles. Now put a star on all the shapes that have at least one pair of parallel sides. A does not have any parallel sides. It has perpendicular right here, but no parallel, no star. The top of this shape is parallel to the bottom of the shape. But these two sides, right and left sides, are angled in. So eventually, if those lines continued on, they would touch. So the sides of it are not parallel, but it does have one pair. Top and bottom is a pair of parallel sides, so it gets a star. C, top is parallel to bottom, side is parallel to side, so it gets a star. On D, the top is parallel to the bottom, side is parallel to the side, so it gets a star. And E, all the opposite sides are parallel to each other. Top and bottom, this side and this side is parallel to that side. Because if those continued on, they're the same distance apart forever. If those two sides continued on, they're the same distance forever. If the top and bottom continued on, right? Star. Okay, so, sorry, my notation makes it all very messy. A equals just a check. B equals just a star. C equals a check and a star. D equals just a star. E equals just a star. Okay, so then for solution, and I mean, I don't know why they want you to check your work. There's nothing to check, right? I mean, if you had a protractor, maybe you could actually check that some of these are like right angles to double check that your checks are in the right places, but don't worry about checking your answer. Just describe down here how you know that those are right angles and how you know those sides are parallel, okay? After that, you're done with this day. Then move on to session 2 once you're ready. Bye, guys.